You know that dream every startup founder has? The one with the big headlines, the fame, the massive exit worth hundreds of millions? It's a great dream. But what if I told you that dream is actually built on a foundation of almost certain failure? Let's peel back the hype and look at the reality. So just take a look at these numbers for a second. For every 10 high-tech companies that get started, a staggering 9 of them are going to fail. Only one, just one on average, actually gets a successful exit. That's a brutal statistic. But behind that cold number, there's a human story. What does that failure actually feel like? To really get what that 90% failure rate means, we've got to look at the story of a founder named Yonatan Stern and his first company, because this isn't just about a number on a chart, it's a deeply, deeply personal experience. And those are his words, not mine. His first company, Rush Intelligent Systems, was working on this incredibly advanced AI system. I mean, after 7 years of grinding, of sleepless nights, and raising $11 million, it all just collapsed. He said it took him a full 6 months just to recover from that feeling of humiliation. So what happened? What went so wrong? Well, it was actually deceptively simple. While their sales were growing quarter after quarter, which sounds great, right? Their expenses were growing right there with them. They were losing money every single quarter until it just became impossible to raise any more. They ran out of cash, game over. But, out of that really painful failure came this total shift in his entire philosophy. Stern learned a lesson the hardest way possible, a lesson that would define every single one of his future successes. Get the company to profitability as fast as you possibly can. And the contrast, well, it couldn't be more stark. Look at this. His first company chased funding, and it ran out of money. His next companies, CardSkin and ZoomInfo, they chased profitability instead. And guess what? Both were in the black within 3 years, generating real cash, and they ultimately had these hugely successful exits. It's just a powerful, powerful illustration of one simple, game-changing idea. This whole experience got Stern thinking. He thought, look, if a developer built 10 buildings and 9 of them collapsed, they'd be out of business, right? You never hire them again. So why on earth do we just accept this insane failure rate for startups? The difference, he realized, is that building a skyscraper is a tested engineering discipline. His big idea? We need to have the same thing for building companies. Okay, so what does this engineering approach actually look like when you put it into practice? Well, one of its core ideas is completely counterintuitive. In fact, it's going to sound a little crazy. The idea is that the very first thing you do in a new company, it isn't building a product, it's marketing. Yeah, I know what you're thinking, because it sounds totally absurd. How can you possibly market a product before you've even written a single line of code? Well, it all comes down to a really simple but powerful thought experiment. Okay, so just imagine for a second your product is already finished. What would you do? You'd run ad campaigns, right? Well, there's absolutely nothing stopping you from running those same campaigns right now, with just words and maybe a few mock-ups. And if you do that, you learn 4 crucial things. First, you verify if there's even a demand for this thing. Second, you get to test all your different messages and see what actually resonates with people. Third, you find out which features customers actually care about, so you only build those. And fourth, you develop a tested, working marketing process. All of that before you spend a single dollar on development. It's genius. And taking this kind of structured approach, it also forces us to completely rethink what innovation really even means. It turns out it might not be about having the most groundbreaking, futuristic technology. Here's the crucial point. Trying to build some brand new, disruptive technology from scratch is incredibly hard, it's super expensive, and honestly, it's unbelievably risky. What's often way smarter and more valuable is creating a disruptive business model. Think about it. Spotify didn't invent music streaming, they just found a better way to sell it to us. Uber didn't invent taxis, they just convinced us all to get in cars with complete strangers. And that leads to another really surprising rule. Don't be first. We all love this idea of the first mover advantage, but honestly, history is just littered with the bodies of pioneers who ended up with arrows in their backs. Google was not the first search engine, and Facebook was definitely not the first social network. The winners are so often the companies that come along and perfect the model, not the ones who invent it. So when you start to put all these principles together,
profitability first, marketing before product, focusing on business models, you realize this is about so much more than just one company's success. This is about changing the entire game. I mean, really, what if we could fundamentally alter that grim statistic we started with? What if building a company was less of a wild gamble and more of a science? Remember this number? This is the current reality. One success for every 9 failures. It's an enormous waste of capital, of time, and of human potential. But what if, by applying this kind of engineering discipline, we could double or even triple the number of successful companies? Instead of just 1 out of 10 making it, we could have 3 out of 10 succeed. I mean, the entire landscape would be completely transformed. Just think about that. Really think of the impact for the founders, for the employees, for investors, for the entire global economy. What world-changing innovations are we missing out on right now? Not because the ideas are bad, but because the process is just broken. The next great leap forward might not be a new piece of technology, but a whole new way of building.